when the prosecutor becomes the one who's raided. Rudy Giuliani is clearly in the legal fight of his entire life right now. He's under severe and serious criminal investigative review, and it got to the point that the feds raided his apartment and office. Now, there are brand new developments in this case, and it's not every day that we're discussing the recent lawyer for the president in this much trouble for the former president. Giuliani's new defense team asking to get his phones back already and trying to basically stop potentially evidence that the feds lawfully seized from review or use. Now, we have a newly unsealed filing where Giuliani's attorney claims the feds believe, that is, that they were expecting Giuliani would destroy evidence or attempt to intimidate witnesses if he knew the extent of the investigation. And we're also learning more about the early morning raid. Giuliani's team wants all the evidence halted. They're also alleging, and they have every right to file their briefs, it doesn't mean what I'm reporting is true, but they're saying that they think Giuliani's now being treated by this Justice Department like the head of a drug cartel or like a terrorist. And they also say the information obtained, communications with, and on behalf of, and that's a key line we're going to get to, on behalf of the then sitting president, Donald Trump. They also claim he was cooperating with the then Trump State Department in his quest to give documents related to those actions about Ukraine and funneling information or dirt or whatever you want to call it to Secretary of State Mike Pompeo. The lawyers are working both in court and behind the scenes. Giuliani is out doing what he does. He's on the airwaves talking about the case.
I know I didn't do anything wrong, so I'm quite confident that in the long run, when they finish all this political persecution, they will not sort of completely corrupt themselves and bring some kind of a false prosecution.
I'm joined now by Neal, former acting U.S. Solicitor General. Thanks for being here. As you and I have discussed in any context, with anyone under review, they can avail themselves their criticisms and concerns about the government or possible search issues. They can do that. Do you see anything here, though, that sticks? Because there hasn't been any independent judicial ruling or any indication there was anything wrong with the underlying raid. He's now saying that he feels, it's, I guess, a somewhat emotional, or if you want it to be less charitable, a kind of a snowflake defense, that he feels that they are treating him like a mob boss. That's his feeling. What they're doing, as I understand it, is working with judges to gather evidence.
Yeah, so Ari, he certainly has the right to file whatever papers he wants to file. The papers he filed that were uncovered today are basically 14 pages of relative nonsense. I mean, he's basically arguing that there can't be a special master review over his material because, well, there wasn't already a special master review. Yeah, I don't think that kind of argument is really going to survive even the normal kind of scrutiny, let alone strict scrutiny. I mean, what Giuliani is trying to say here is he wants a special set of rights because he is the president's lawyer and he portrays it as prosecutors eager to go after him. And there's zero evidence to support that in his filing, except for the fact that the prosecutors also went after another Trump lawyer, Michael Cohen, who, by the way, admitted that he committed various federal crimes. And so I guess at the end of this, I'm just not quite so sure that being President Trump's lawyer cuts quite in the direction that Rudy Giuliani think it does. And these allegations just don't pass the smell test. I mean, the leftist plot to take out Rudy Giuliani is so insidious, I guess, that it began in the Trump Justice Department in 2019, which is when this investigation began. Doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I think that's all a tough but fair reckoning with at least what he's publicly filed. Then you bring in the other part, which is the relationship with Donald Trump. And this is fascinating and high stakes. And it's also where a bit of a tell comes in, because Donald Trump, everyone remembers, has jumped in very controversial ways on behalf of certain people. I mean, Paul Manafort was convicted of a whole bunch of crimes, including a lot of personal enrichment that you might say, in fairness to Trump, didn't have to do with Trump. It had to do with him lining his own pockets and evading taxes. Trump still went in to help him, still wanted to help Roger Stone. We know what it looks like when Donald Trump has decided to help someone regardless of controversy. Here's reporting from the Daily Beast that says Trump, quote, has blown off Giuliani's pleas for help. It won't issue a written statement saying that the work in Ukraine was done on Trump's behalf, won't sign on to a legal motion to throw out the seized communications, and then, of course, no surprise, and we've discussed it before, won't pay any bills. Put the bills to the side for a moment. That's sort of Trump 101. The fact that he won't do free things that he has done for others, does that tell you that Donald Trump thinks that there may be some actions that were taken vis-a-vis Ukraine or the election that he doesn't want fingerprints on?
Absolutely. I mean, it may very well be that Trump doesn't want to help Giuliani because he himself is implicated in all of this. And that's why I think Giuliani's filing this letter today that we read is, really reads as a scared document. What he's trying to do is say, I should get access to everything that the prosecutors know. The affidavits that led a federal judge to sign off on a search warrant. And you can't do that at the investigation stage. Obviously, when someone is indicted, Brady versus Maryland and other things require information to be turned over. But there's a reason why investigations are secret. There's grand jury secrecy and all kinds of things. And it's because we want the investigation to continue unimpeded. And here, Giuliani's trying to interfere with the investigation itself at the front end because he's scared. And he says, look, I'm being treated like a drug lord or a terrorist. And that would be a fair comparison if the prosecutors weren't pulling evidence from his iPhone, like parents looking at their kids' phone for, explicit lyrics and music. I mean, it's just, it's candy for them. And, so far, not a single thing that Giuliani's filed leads me to think there's anything wrong or nefarious about this investigation, which, again, began in the Donald Trump Justice Department.
Right. And that's why when we see this level of concern, Giuliani's is one version you just documented, Trump's is another, which is running away from it. It's very striking to really just keep an eye as we will keep pulling the thread of what the feds are after here. Neal Katyal, always great to have you. I want to remind everyone for Neal's analysis here on The Beat, you can go to msnbc.com/opening arguments, our recurring series where you can see this and other legal breakdowns by Neal.